All right, we're live. Hi, it's Paula here, and I am here with Judymay. Welcome, Judymay.
Thank you. Great to be here, Paula.
I just need to put myself back together because of the technical problems. It seems like I lost my mind for a little while.
You got it sorted though. That's the main thing.
Oh
And you know
yeah.
what? Isn't that the way life is? It's just, stuff presents itself and then we think we're not going to get through and then we do and we move on and upwards and it's all good.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's all good. We are here now. Oh, so great to talk to you. I would like to ask. Making up videos telling about your upcoming course here in Finland as well, because I just think that it's a killer course. It's like so valid and it's so helpful for so many people. But the term codependence, when we translate it into Finnish, it's something that is not coming up very much here in Finland. It's like, I think it's like more professional term. So
Mm.
could you tell me first, like just with like regular language, what is codependence
Okay.
and who is the course for?
Yeah. Well, what codependence is it's a state of being. It's a whole set of behaviors that are so ingrained, so part of who you've become that you don't even see it as a thing anymore. And as part of that, you accidentally, also called unconsciously, start to put other people first. You think that you're safe if you can look after other people and please other people, and your focus is not on you and making sure that you are financially free, physically healthy, emotionally happy, and instead it becomes about kind of controlling other people, but you don't call it control, you call it being helpful, being a good person, being understanding. And the role that we then take up is often as a teacher, as a carer, as a supporter. And we can get ourselves into situations where we end up feeling very, very unsafe because we haven't made ourselves financially free. We haven't looked after our dream. We're hoping that, if this person changes or this situation changes, then I'll be able to be happy rather than just going for it directly. We often feel that if we do something that's just for us, that we're being selfish. We're often very confused as to if we're so like smart and so loving, why is it that our life isn't the way that we want it to be? So in a nutshell, that is what codependence is. It's sort of like the people that we get fixated on, whether those are business partners, whether those are celebrities, whether those are romantic partners, parents. It very often happens that people can be codependent with their parents, and sometimes you can be codependent just with everybody, and sometimes it's specific to certain people or certain kinds of people. But what it means is that you're not being the number one authority in your own life. You're constantly jumping outside of your own existence, your own way of being, and feeling very, very unsafe, feeling like you won't be able to get your dream, you won't be able to live the life you want to live unless all these people are somehow behaving themselves or somehow doing what you need. So it's a very exhausting way of living, a very frustrating and disappointing way of living. And the great thing is that once we can learn what it is that we've been doing, because for most of us it feels like normality, but when we learn what we've been doing, we can start to do things differently. And that's when our results start to change. This is a very results based course that I'm going to be teaching because it's not just for the sake of feeling a little bit better or avoiding highly narcissistic situations. Yes, that's in it too, feeling a lot better, avoiding all kinds of narcissists and but also, to let you see that you can have this inner strength and this way of living that is just much much easier. That you can actually breathe in your day. That you can really start to enjoy your existence. And I've been through it. I remember what it's like to really struggle and push to become successful. And yes, to get the success, but in a very precarious, very dangerous feeling kind of way. So it's about really changing the in to change the out, changing who you are, how things are made up, how your brain has been functioning in order that we can do things differently and have very, very different results.
Yeah, yeah, I recognize myself as well in those. And it's so funny how you feel like it's the new way of doing and behaving and going about on things is feels like a danger in the beginning, doesn't it? Like the uncomfortable way of living feels like the normal, and then changing it feels very dangerous and very uncomfortable and very frustrating as well. But then when you go on with it, and you start to learn these new ways of being and behaving, it's and acting as well, it's you start to notice how your old life was so uncomfortable and you were just so used to it.
Yeah, exactly. You just, that's what the brain is designed to go for. It's designed to go for what has, kept you alive in the past rather than what actually feels good. So,
Yeah.
we can often see it in other people. We can see that, if somebody, hires someone to clean their house for them, they will be a lot less stressed out. And you're saying to yourself, that person has enough money. They can easily hire someone to clean their house. They're completely exhausted, and yet they're spending their time on the weekend cleaning their own house. What's that about? Well, it's about the fact that person knows how to clean their own house, and they know how to be exhausted. And the idea of sitting in a beautiful five-star hotel, drinking tea with their friends while somebody else does the work, it's new, it's uncomfortable. Your brain is looking for ways that could hurt you. And so it's kind of on guard, it's on full alert. But once the house has been cleaned a couple of weeks in a row, you start to look forward to having your Saturday mornings with your friends, sitting there drinking tea, or whatever it is that you're moving out of and into. So there is a period of time where it's just new, but it's amazing how very, very quickly everybody can get used to that new way of being. So an example from my own life was the fact that my family of origin, my parents and siblings, always expected me to drop what I was doing and give them huge amounts of time, like entire weekends. I mean, they'd say, well, can you come in for 8 o'clock in the morning? And literally help them in all weekend and do things for them with a vague idea that then that was how family worked and that they would eventually do something for me. I can't even think what my thinking was at the time, but it seems like a no-brainer to me that, well, of course I will show up and help this family member. And then when I
Yeah.
realized that, that's me building other people's dreams in the hope that a little bit, some crumbs will fall from the table, a little bit will come back my way, instead of just saying, well, no, my weekend belongs to me. I've been working hard all weekend. I'm going to have some fun, and I'm also going to be building my new dream. And once I did that, once I started to say no, it was very difficult at first. They really made me feel badly. And then after a while, it was like they stopped asking, and it stopped being a problem. Now they don't expect me to do their work. They do their work. And if they get overwhelmed, I might, have a couple of suggestions for things they might want to do, or even just be there for them and just say, oh, you know what? I'm so sorry that you're so busy, but maybe we'll get together next week. And that we were living in such an enmeshed way that I didn't even see that it was a problem. So a lot of it is, particularly when it comes to things like finances and time, looking at, where is it you're being codependent? Where is it that other people are playing far too big a role and you're playing far too small a role in your own existence and your own dream building?
Yeah. Yeah. And I've just, I completely got into my memories about how I was always navigating according to what I was thinking that other people are expecting of me, and always trying to fill other people's expectations, and didn't even know what did I expect from myself and from my life. And have gotten used to being needless and wantless, and just fulfilling the expectations and needs and wants of everybody else.
And we often show up, don't we? And because I'm sure you remember from back when you were doing that, that you couldn't even state what your dream was. It was like almost impossible to make what would be for you and I a very, very simple statement right now, like I'm going to be a best-selling author in Finland. You know, that
Yeah.
now is, I know that's something that you're working towards. I know you're doing amazing things on TV and radio. And, that even a statement like that, you couldn't have got there because your brain would be like, well, is that something for me? Will I be able to do it? What will other people think? And or do I want that? Or do I want, like, because we're just not used to focusing so completely on ourselves that we can get this sort of clarity and then the sort of strategy that is needed to move forward. A lot of people try to make the dream come true and work a strategy and have a goal and go and achieve that goal without doing the inner work around their codependence. And
Yeah.
it just makes every single day hugely frustrating because you have sort of this invisible wall and you can't even articulate, well, what is it? What is it? And you look back and you say, I told myself, I promised myself that I would write my book this weekend, that I would get this chapter written, and I've got nothing written, nothing, and you might just sort of say, well, I'll do it next week instead. But if you actually look at it, you can ask yourself the question, I wasn't making my own dream come true this weekend. Whose dream was I making come true? And then we can see, well, it was my mother's dream to have a dutiful daughter. It was my husband's dream to not have to pick up after himself. It was my teenager's dream to be chauffeur driven everywhere. It was my friend's dream to build her own business. You realize, wow, I've built everybody else's dream. I've fulfilled everybody else's plan for me, but I haven't had a plan for me. And that really is what is necessary. And the great thing is that it works both ways. Like as you start building the dream, your codependent stuff comes up for healing. And if you
Hmm.
are at the same time healing that codependence and looking at it and saying, what is this behavior? What is this feeling? Why am I so terrified to make a sales call? Why has that thing been on the list for the last 20 weeks? Why do I not know? Why do I still not know? Why do I still not have this? Why have I promised myself this and it hasn't happened yet? Why am I so jealous of these people? All these things, they're great questions, but we've got to start answering them. And we've got to start answering them in a way that makes sure you don't just keep falling back into that place again, because that place isn't working for you.
Yeah, exactly. And then being clear, and the part where you say that we have to have the clarity first, and then it's so important that you can see and you can be clear about what you want and what is it that you are doing at the moment, even when it's about being codependent, and realizing that, oh, this does not feel good. Okay, what is in here? So we have to be clear about what we're looking at, and also about that we are answering. You say that we have to ask those questions and then start to answer those questions. I remember the times when I was asking those questions, yeah, definitely, but I was answering the different questions because it was much easier. I changed the question and I gave the answer to a very different question than I originally asked from myself.
Yeah, and it's amazing how our brain does that and we just don't see it. So it could be something like, you sort of say, how can I build my business this weekend? Great question. Or how can I have fun building my business this weekend? And then you end up answering the question, how can I fit in a little bit of my business around my family? It's a very different question that you've answered there. So you get a very different result. And I love the way that you, as a busy mom, I mean, you've got 3 young kids, and a gorgeous husband, and a very active community and friend life, and you've got your international adventures that you do as well. And I just love watching how you put yourself so firmly in the center, and you don't allow other people to run the show for you, and the fact that you navigate from your dream every single day, and you say, well, I don't know how I'm going to do that, but I am. I'm going to make it happen, and other people are going to have to adjust. And the idea of other people adjusting for us, like for both of us, years and years ago, was just like, what would that even look like? Other people
Yeah.
having to be put out for us. And yet we were adjusting ourselves constantly every single day for other people. And so I just love how far both of us have come in that, you know, we now are like, well, you know what, if they've got a problem with it, they can communicate that to us and we can negotiate in a reasonable way. But I'm not going to presume anymore that I'm going to be the one who has to be disadvantaged.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm sure you remember the time as well when it felt so scary to actually set those boundaries, and then how people reacted, and it felt like, in a way, I do remember when I started to set um like really set the boundaries about my time and about my focus, and other people got offended because I had always been there, kind of people pleasing them and making sure that they are all right. And then when I started to set the boundaries around my life, it felt the people felt for a little while that I was not caring about them anymore, and it was all
Yeah.
about me. And then when they said that, oh, why is it always now about you, it made me, it triggered me back into thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to the from other far end to the other far end, from being very
Yeah.
codependent to being very, very, very selfish in a bad way. And I do remember that, and it kind of rocked the boat again. But I'm sure you remember those times as well when it felt like, okay, is this what I'm doing right? And then when you keep doing it, it just gets better. It's just, then you realize, like, okay, the people need to get used to the idea you having your own life as well, and you having your dream, and you showing up for you, not just for them.
And you know what's really practical about the course is the fact that you know you'll be given phrases. So I teach people phrases
I love
that
those
you
phrases.
use. So it's just like things that never would have occurred to you to speak before,
Yeah.
and just knowing, like, when this is said, you can say this, and people won't. There's nothing in it that can offend someone, because we tend to, you know, when we're used to kind of being trodden all over, and then we want to stand up for ourselves, we can often create conflict, and it doesn't feel good. But
Mm-hmm.
understanding, like, you know, there's about what 25 standard phrases, and when you know them, and you'll automatically start to know which one to use. It they can't cause conflict. So you get to set your boundaries, stand up for yourself, get what you want, or even something, you know, like asking for a sale, or just asking for anything that you need and want, and being able to do it elegantly. Just because you now have the tools to do that, you actually have the vocabulary, you have the phrases, and
Yeah.
also then dealing with that question of what happens when you get triggered, because you know what you're talking about, like this awful feeling of, oh gosh, now I'm a bad person. It's not just an idea, it's a feeling that goes right the way through your body. Like it grips you, and you, like, some people feel like throwing up, some people shake. I used to just get very, like, my head, and particularly behind my eyes, would get really, really heavy, and my eyes would kind of go all big and googly, and I would just be like in a, in a trance, and just not be able to breathe. And so, you know, it's something that really takes over your body. You can't sleep, you can't eat, or you overeat. And so it's not just it's not just about, you know, swapping ideas around. It's
Mm-hmm.
about, you know, how your mind hijacks your entire body as
Mm-hmm.
soon as you start to make your dream come true, as soon as you start to self champion. And how do we get around that? How do we cope with that? How do we understand what is the vagus nerve and the role that that plays, and the particular, there's five very particular things you do to stimulate your vagus nerve, which is the thing that instigates your parasympathetic nervous system. Don't worry, all these sound like jargon right now, but you'll know, you know, throughout the course, you'll get to know all these different things. What are the five different ways that we stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system through the vagus nerve? The very simple things that you do, like 2-minute things that you do in order to get your own body back. You know, then also learning things like, what is the HPA axis, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis? What role does that play? What is cortisol? How is cortisol different from adrenaline? How do we make sure, like, just all these different, like, ways of looking at it, going, oh my gosh, that's what's going on. That's why I feel so terrible. Rather than just a big blanket idea of I feel terrible or I feel good.
Yeah.
Instead, you know what? I feel right now I'm too tired to feel good in a dopamine way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I get my serotonin really on track. I'm going to make sure that I'm expressing serotonin. That's a different kind of feeling good. And what are the ways that we do that as opposed to the ways that we trigger our dopamine? So you're going to get very, very expert during this course on you.
Yeah,
So
that was what
really,
I was gonna say. Yeah.
you know that you'll become like your own fascinating land to yourself, and so
Yeah.
you'll be in a situation that before would have closed you down, and you'll be like, oh yeah, you know, Judy maybe tell me about this, and now I know that this is going on. Oh, I don't know what to do about it. Okay, let me try that. And you know, you become curious and you start to do things differently, and then you start to realize, wow, this actually works. This actually works, and that's when life becomes very, very exciting, and you stop feeling so powerless, and then your brain is kind of like, oh wow, what else is possible? And the things that you thought weren't going to happen in this lifetime, like maybe financial freedom or a really amazing relationship, a love relationship, or you know, building your own family or adventuring big in the world, those things start to become possible, and you stop questioning it and you just go for it. I mean, now, you know, Paula, the stuff you're doing in Finland in particular, as well as I know you also work in London, um, the stuff you're doing is just so phenomenal. I know from what you've shared with me that you know that would not have been possible without you becoming an expert in yourself and doing that really, really deep codependency work.
Yeah, and that I was just gonna, thinking back like the beginning courses that I took with you, how I always loved the way that because you just said so many particular words that may sound like the jargon, but you always made it sound so easy. It was never about like being a question mark on your courses. It was always like, oh, and I'm still attending your courses because I just love to come and learn new things all the time. And love to see how you keep bringing all the time. Amazing how you keep bringing all the new stuff up all the time. And just the way you explained everything, the phrases you mentioned earlier, I love those. I still have the phrases written down in one of my notebooks, and I go back to those every now and then, and I use them with my clients as well. And how you explain things it just makes sense, and it's so easy to understand, and it's never about sitting in and listening like, oh my gosh, I do not understand what this means. You just make sure that we all get it, and then we can try it actually.
And you know what's really interesting? Just now, right before I came on this call, I had a meeting with it's an organization of psychologists,
Mm-hmm.
and they're coming on the course. This entire this organization of psychologists,
Yeah.
they're sending a whole group of representatives. You know, they've bought tickets and they're coming on the course. You might sort of say, but you know, they're the psychologists. But you know what? This stuff, a lot of it, as you say, it's new and it's being added to every single day. And this is, you know, I study daily. I get the latest stuff. I also work in it, and you know, I'm part of bringing this conversation forward, not just in a reactive way, but in a very proactive way, where I'm saying, you know, well, is that working? Are people getting this? What is happening still, even after they know this stuff? What's the tweak? What's the, you know, just to make sure that it really, really does work. Because
Yeah.
you'd be amazed at the amount of people who can do the jargony stuff, and they're still sad. And so we've got to make sure that we're not, you know, being so big and clever that we're not getting the job done.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of people who they will come to me and they'll sort of say, oh yes, well, I know all this, and I always smile because I'm like, nobody knows all this. I don't know all this. I start curious every single day. What is it I don't know? What is it I can learn today? And with the people that they'll say, oh yeah, well, I have complex PTSD, and my mother had borderline, and my father was a classic narcissist, and da 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 da. Da. And I'll just kind of go, and how are you feeling, honey? How are you feeling today? And they can't answer that.
Mm-hmm.
They
Yeah.
can't get into their own existence, their own body, their own idea of, you know, who am I on the planet? right now? How is this going for me? I've got a good friend, a lot of my friends on the international speaker circuit. And so we were in the green room, and people always wonder what goes on, what kind of chat goes on in the green room. And when you've got people who are really genuine, it's really amazing stuff. And I've got one speaker friend, and every time I give him a piece of news about anything, he always just looks at me, kind of like at the side of his face. He just sort of looks at me. He goes, "How's that working for you?" And it's a great thing for him to say, because it kind of cuts through any bullshit. So if I'm there saying, "Oh yeah, I'm so busy. I'm doing this event and then this event and then I'm on this TV show and then I'm doing this and then doing that," he goes, "How's that working for you?" And then suddenly I'm like, "I'm really tired and I really miss my niece and nephew." And I'll say that, and it just brings me straight back into, and what's the reality of this? And so that's a thing that we've got to do all the time. Like, yeah, we get to do the great big fun stuff, and then we can, and then sometimes it's just like, "Oh yeah, you know what? I feel so relieved. I'm so happy because I was, last year I broke my arm. I was off the road for 3 months, couldn't do any gigs. So I'm so relieved to be back." But just, not about over aligning with the positivity or over aligning with the negativity, but just sort of saying, what's actually going on and what could be going on, and having that, taking your power back. Not even taking it back. That's jargon. Often it's taking your power for the first time. Often, it's having an idea of you for the first time. You can't take. People say, you got to take your power back. Well, let's break that down. Take it back. What if you never had it? You, right? The idea of your power, the idea of you. What if an idea of you was never really set up? Power. What if power for you meant abuse? That was your only reference for what power was. And this very kind of gentle, strong, freedom kind of power is something that you just haven't experienced. So, we're going to be making sure that there's a you, that there's an understanding of what that power is for you, and that we get you there no matter what's happened in the past.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That sounds so good. I'm, if you ask me, I'll be there once again. I can't remember on how many the similar kind of courses I've been, and you always bring up new stuff, and I'm always eager to learn the things that you have come up with. So I'll be there.
Great. And the thing is that, to anyone's listening right now, we want you there. And please don't let your brain do that thing that all brains do brilliantly of saying, "Well, I'll just do this first, or I'll just do this instead." Like self-championing, putting yourself in the center isn't necessarily always a comfortable thing. You've got to spend time and money. And also it's a commitment that you're going to go inside and look at what's been going on. So those are three pretty big commitments. But you know what? You would make that commitment if it was saving someone else's life, saving someone else's dream. So for goodness sake, do it for you. And as you know, Paula, I always say, do it shaking, but do it. And once you're there, I've got you. I've got you. This is what I do. This is what I do. We make sure that you are absolutely looked after. You're not going to be nameless and faceless. You're going to be anonymous on the calls. No one else is going to be there. Know you're there unless you choose to, come on for live coaching. But you have that choice. You make that choice before the call starts. If you're someone who doesn't like to do that at all, you can just be completely anonymous on the call. But you're not going to be anonymous with me. I'm going to know who you are. I'm going to look at your progress. I'm going to feel it. I'm going to notice if you don't show up for a call. I'm going to reach out to you and I'm going to say, "Hey, how is it going? Hey, how's that going for you?" Right? How's it going? What is it? Like, was there a reason why you missed the call? Are you okay? Have you listened to the recording? What can we do? What's going on for you? What bit of it are you finding tricky? Is there a question I can answer now, or is there a longer question that you think I might need to deal with in the course? What's confusing to you? And it might be that I've got a video I can send you of mine or someone else's, that I've got, a really specific book that will answer a series of questions for you. So, it isn't just, arriving, being given information and off you go. And again, that can be something that can be quite triggering for you. That can lead to emotional flashbacks when finally someone is seeing you and caring. And that can be something, if it hasn't really happened before, that can be something that can be very, very uncomfortable. And people have said to me, I found myself avoiding you and I don't know why. I'm like, well, because I could see you and I care. And that's very uncomfortable for you. And you know, that's part of the practical side of learning how to run your brain differently, have a differently conditioned brain, and a very, very different life, one that is much easier and much more exciting at the same time.
Yeah, and I can definitely say you really care, and you really just take us there. You don't leave anybody behind. And that's if somebody who's listening has the feeling that okay, it's uncomfortable to be noticed and uncomfortable to be heard and seen. I used to be like that. Oh, I think when we started to work together, I pulled back so many times and for such a long periods of time, but I always came back. And what made me come back was the realization that for the first time I found someone who really cared and who really listened and made me feel like I was heard and seen. And it was very uncomfortable, but I can tell you now that it was all worth it. It was all worth the uncomfortableness because now life is so much easier now. It's so much easier. You don't have to run and hide all the time.
Yeah, you don't, because you were presenting to the world as a sad little mouse, a sad, helpful little mouse. And, you know, that's not you. You are an extraordinary, powerful woman. And, you know, and you know, there are going to be men and women on this course. And the the thing is that, you know, that there's no need for you to hide anymore. So, you know, please come along, and it's a place where you are welcomed, where you are celebrated. You are going to be really transformed. You know, together we're going to do that work. We're going to get you there because you're worth it. Absolutely worth it. So,
yes, and if you
looking forward to meeting everybody.
Yes, and if you're thinking that, oh, I'll do just this bit, like Judymay said earlier, go join the course, because when you join the course and you are like surrounded with the like-minded people and the people who really want to work with themselves, there's just the power of the group as well. It's so amazing to hear when Judymay asks somebody on answers somebody else's questions, because you can always relate to those as well, and you can find those how they fit into your life as well. And it's so eye-opening experience to realize that you are not alone, that there are other people going through the same stuff, and that you can sort of mess up and then get yourself back together and work yourself out of the situation and grow and learn to thrive as a person.
So just some practical details. It's 10 weeks, starting not this Sunday, but the next Sunday. I think that's the 4th of March. So the only day that we're skipping is Easter Sunday. So it's going to be 11 weeks in total, but skipping Easter Sunday. And it's for an hour and a half each time. And I'm not sure what time it is. Going to is it Saturday or Sunday? Do you know what? I actually can't remember. I'm not good at those details, but I will be there. I think it's a Sunday evening. Is that right? Sunday evening.
Yeah, I think it's Sunday evening at 9 o'clock Finnish time, 7 o'clock UK time.
So, yeah. But a really, really great, strong way to finish out the week and start the new week. And it's done by webinar. So, you know, you will be getting a link, and then you just press that link and you show up, and you just follow all the directions. You'll just be given everything that you need. So it's very, very easy on your part. So the bit that you have to do is commit your time and money, and that's it. We've got it from there. But please do it. Just do it. If you've got any idea of I need to make this massive change, do, because you know, it's such a waste of a person if you're not living your ultimate dream right now. So everybody, I really, really look forward to getting to know you.
Great, and I'll post the link below the video so that you can sign up for the course from there and be there.
And Paula, if they have any questions, can they reach out to you? Because maybe it'll be easier for them to discuss things with you and finish. Would that be a good thing?
Yes, definitely. You can reach out for me as well, and I'll make sure you have my email address there included.
Fantastic. See you all soon.
Yes. All right. See you soon. Thank you. Bye.